Oh, I didn't realize I hit live. I'm sitting here texting back and forth with a friend. So, hi everybody. Jax West, not a family member, decided to go live today because I was home and my boyfriend's at work. Oh my God, what is this? That there's big. Oh my God. I just saw. Sorry. Sorry, I got to post on this. Okay, so sorry, personal stuff. Um, so figured would go live. I know I was live yesterday, but it wasn't us talking, and it was me driving around the Manitowoc area. So figured I would go live because I'm here and my boyfriend's won't be home from work for a while. So if there was anything anybody wanted to talk about, I'm here. So pop on and go over some things. I know that there's stuff being posted, tweeted by Zellner that is making people think there is the chance that she will be filing early. Let me click on this tweet where she said, is everybody ready for some new information regarding our ongoing investigation of the Avery case with 1,000 question marks? And then in her hashtags, one of her hashtags is shining the light, which I think is funny because 3 years ago, an article I wrote about Brendan was, putting Brendan in the spotlight because a lot of times I feel that Brendan isn't talked about as much as Stephen. And so even the picture that I have, the cover picture for Free Brendan, I had my boyfriend design that because Brendan likes superhero movies and such. So I had Jeff design something where it looks like a typical Batman movie with the bat signal in the air, so the light up there, but then that light is Brendan. So is Kathleen filing early? Because then there's also the thing that she put out to Guilters, giving it was like 7 days. 7 days. So does that mean that's when she's filing at the end of those 7 days? Tanya says, my husband wants to know if he can reach through and slap you. Laugh my fucking ass off. Apparently he thinks I'm spending too much time with you. Yep, slap me. Sorry, booking a hotel with friends for next month. For our governor's inauguration next month. Oh, Rhonda made it on time. Well, I'm surprised if anybody's able to make it because it really was a spur of the moment thing. Because I was home and just sitting here and I was like, I'll go on. So I'm not really giving everybody a lot of notice. Charlotte says, what is my theory? My theory is, and this isn't because Zellner stuff shows it. I had this theory. I had the theory prior to what Zellner has released, but mine was a little different. Oh God, what is this? An article on their Christmas shit? Is that really what that is? Sorry. just sent an, oh, okay. Hold on. Let's read this article together, okay? Because it's about the family trying to get money for Christmas. And I don't know if this has been posted in Gossip already. It's In Touch magazine, and it says, looking for the best Christmas gift? Look no further than this. Stephen Avery merge. There are probably weirder Christmas gifts out there, right? Making a Murderer, Stephen Avery certainly has his share of fans, and his kin is taking advantage of that by offering Stephen Avery merchandise to benefit their family. If someone is a huge Making a Murderer fan, or just a fan of true crime in general, one or more of the items could make a Christmas gift, we suppose. Stephen's niece, Carla Chase, acts as the Avery family spokesperson and runs a Twitter account with information about Stephen's case and family updates. She posted a link to Avery merchandise on that account on December 1 and wrote, as some have seen, we brought back the We All Live on Avery Road merchandise. The family wants to thank you so much for the sale so far. This is the only merchandise that the family receives any proceeds from, so please be careful where you buy from. Because if you're going to buy merchandise to support the family of a suspect for rape and murder featured in a Netflix series who may or may not be wrongfully convicted, you should make sure it's from a legit source. And then it's got Carla's tweet. Whoops, just dropped my phone. Avery is the subject of Netflix's wildly popular true crime documentary where he is portrayed as a seemingly harmless man who was wrongfully convicted for the 2005 rape, get off pop-up, and murder of a photographer, Teresa Halbach. As such, he has a lot of fans who feel he deserves justice, and it makes sense that some of those fans may want to do something to support him, his family, and the show. Hence, merchandise that would look great under your Christmas tree. However you may feel about the Avery case and about Making a Murderer in general, this is kind of a brilliant marketing idea for the Avery family. There are certainly people out there who will want an Avery hoodie or beanie hat, so why not offer it to them? Ugh. So, all right. Back to, what about me? What's my theory? So my theory was well, no, I shouldn't say due to this because some of it is, my theory was I'm reinforced due to stuff Zellner has found. So I'm probably going to combine the two, whatever. That it's Bobby Dassey in the library with the candlestick. Now, I believe Bobby Dassey is some sexual deviant, which now seems to be, if you look into a lot of the males in the Avery family, it seems to be a common trait that these are a bunch of sexual deviants. That Bobby became obsessed with Teresa because it's something that Stephen has said that every time Teresa had been there, Bobby would be saying afterwards, oh, your girlfriend was here. So Bobby was always making note of when Teresa Halbach was on that property. He absolutely knew that she was coming that day because it was his mother's vehicle that was being sold, and Barb had told her sons to clean out that van for the pictures. So he knew Teresa was coming that day. I believed that Bobby stopped her for a hustle shot. I was never sure where she got stopped. I thought there was a chance that she was stopped down by the office, because a lot of the vehicles that Stephen was selling from the junkyard was the cars were parked down by the office. So Teresa would be taking pictures of the cars down there. They weren't typically parked down at the end of the road where Stephen and Barb lived. And due to the bus driver's testimony claiming that she saw Teresa there, there's no possible way she could see Teresa down in front of Barb's house. It's not possible. Watch the video that I made of one time that I was there. There's no way that bus driver can see Teresa down by the residences. But if Bobby had stopped her by the office for, hey, I'm thinking of selling my vehicle, the bus driver could have seen him there. So that was an early theory. But now from Kathleen's reenactment of one of her theories is Bobby chased her down the road and then got her to pull over at that Cuss Road, which I took you on our field trip yesterday, that you were able to see Cuss Road and all that back there. So I believe that he got her to pull over for a hustle shot. One of my earlier theories on it too was he accidentally shot her. That somebody had reported that they had seen her on the side of near a side of a road taking a picture of a cow. You know, because a photographer, you see things and you take a picture of it. And then he accidentally shot her because he was hunting. You know, when I was thinking accident before I had known what the perv had on his computer. So I believe that Bobby hit on her in some way, whether or not it was asking her, hey, you want to get together sometime? Or he just went pervy and tried to touch her or something. And she turned him down. And that made him angry. And he did whatever it is he did. I do not theorize on what it is that Bobby did to Teresa, because we do not have any evidence of what has happened to Teresa. I do not know if those bones that have been found are Teresa's. I do not think Teresa's alive, but there's nothing to prove that those are her bones. There's nothing to prove that she was shot. There's nothing to prove that she was raped or stabbed or any of that. So I don't know what happened to Teresa. All I know is I believe that Bobby did something to her. And then I think that Scott helped cover it up. How exactly he helped, I don't know. But I think Scott helped. Even if it's just Scott giving him an alibi. Maybe Scott didn't do something with the body, but there's always that Sikaki letter. But I believe that Scott has helped Bobby in some way. And then that is how Barb is forced to stay with Scott. Because if she doesn't, Scott will tell what he knows about Bobby. So I think she's kind of trapped. So that's my little theory, which is basically Zellner's. And, I'm no expert on it. That's just, yeah. Natasha says, I joined the family support page so I could snoop, and people have been tearing them up over fundraising. Well, good. The fundraising. And everything that I've gone through with Earl in the last couple of days. I had never said anything negative about Earl. All this stuff with his record and all these things, I've known this the entire time that I've been doing this, but I never said anything about it or post anything about it because it's not good, good for the case, I guess, is the way I should word that. But now that Earl has shown himself to be shady like Carla, yeah, you guys should all know what is in that guy's past. But to start with, when Earl first came at me, and whatever rats are in here that are reporting back to Earl, I don't know what the hell you're saying to them, but you're all idiots who are reporting this stuff back to Earl because you're not saying the truth. All I had said was, and Stephen knows this, the last time I talked to Stephen on the phone, when he said to me he wanted the negativity. That is the word he used. That is how he phrased it. He wanted the negativity between the pages to end. Until that day, Stephen has never said anything to me about Carla, except negative shit that he's been ripping on Carla the 2 years that I've been talking to him on the phone, that she's a fucking thief, that she's constantly trying to take his money, and that she should get a job if she needs more money, that he took her off her visitors list. He would tell me that he would call his mother, and if Carla was there, he would tell Carla, I don't want to talk to you. Give my mom the phone. Give grandma the phone. That he didn't want to talk to Carla. So prior to this, he's never said anything positive about Carla, period. So then when he says to me that day that he wants the negativity between the pages to end, I said, if that's what you want, Stephen, that's what I'll do. But Carla has to stand up to her side of it, and I don't want any of these fucking fundraisers. And he told me the only thing that he was okay with was the Avery Salvage Yard stuff, because he said that Earl was in charge of that and he trusted Earl with that money and that Carla would have no contact. So then the next thing I see is Earl and Carla together. And then when I had talked to Carla on the phone, I told her no more fundraisers. And she told me she wouldn't do any more fundraisers because it's not worth it. It gets into so much trouble and all that. So she said no fundraisers. And then within the next week, there's 5 different fucking fundraisers. I didn't say anything bad about Earl. I said that I see Earl with Carla and Carla doing these fundraisers. So now I will no longer promote the Avery Salvage Yard sales, because anything that is connected to Carla is a no from Stephen Avery Project. And they know Stephen Avery Project, with how large we are, we bring in a lot of money for them, because we doubled their money in 24 hours by us promoting it. No, not if Carla's connected to it. I like Dolores. I have nothing against Dolores whatsoever. I get people who want to give Dolores things. I've bought her clothes over the years. I've given her little tokens. When I went and visited her, I brought her $300 in cash and gave her a gas card. And when I had talked to Carla, I had said I would love for people to be able to get things for Dolores. And Carla has morphed that into, well, we're going to have this GoFundMe that's in some random chick's name, her email. And so the money's going to be going through there, and then we'll go through Carla, and then Carla will get it to Dolores. And then even these items, it's send it to Carla's house, and then Carla's going to get it to Dolores. Fuck you, you're a liar. So then that's when I'm like, no, forget this. This is just a mess. So if you want to support Stephen and Brendan, send it to their commissary accounts, really, because I get feeling bad for the family. Jack's the bitch is here, but fuck them. I'm sorry, but they're not in prison. They're the ones with multiple homes. Every single person in that family has more than one home. Boats, cars, ATVs, jet skis, hunting stuff, on and on and on and on. Property, lots of property in both Crivets and the salvage yard. They're not hurting for money. Don't look at the way they live and think because they live in a way you wouldn't want to live that way, that you wouldn't want to live in Dolores's trailer. She likes it there. And she likes how she lives. She's content. And when I visited her that one time and I asked her, what can I do to help? What do you need? What can we do for you? And she said, I don't know. Also, Dolores doesn't go visit Stephen a lot because she can't. So then all the people trying to do will send her gas money. She goes once a month at that. How much gas money do you think she needs to go once a month? Really? So Stephen and Brendan are the ones in prison. So Send them the money. Don't send it to their family. Their family is fine. Why are you paying for Carla to have a Christmas party that is going to be with her minions? Yes, they're going to drag Dolores there. I say this over and over. They're going to drag Dolores there and prop her up in a chair so they can make sure they take photos with her. Oh, and they'll make sure she smiles or something to go, see, she likes it. She would rather be at her own freaking house and not in this whole mess. Because even look at her when they dragged her out to Sandra's house this last minion visit. She looked miserable to be there. You know, that the woman had just had a medical procedure and you're dragging her over there for what? Because the only way you're going to feel relevant is to tie yourself to Dolores because she is loved by the Making a Murderer community. So I never said anything negative about Earl. It's always been about Carla. Carla's the thief. Carla's the one who on Black Friday 2015, a couple weeks before Making a Murderer came out, she got caught stealing clothes from a store on Black Friday. Whether or not it was clothes for her or clothes she was going to get for Christmas gifts, I don't know. That she was then ordered to pay $300 and something for. I know she's lying and telling people it's from the last time was 18 years ago and it was for washers that she didn't know she had. She's lying again. It's stupid because it's a record. You can pull it up. It's a public record. She's a thief. She took money from when she had the camp out and auction at her house, that those items and that money has never been accounted for. And I know for a fact she paid the money to herself first and to her friends first before she divided up the rest. How do I know? Because I was friends with Barb at that time, and Barb hated Carla. And then she was very pissed off that Carla that took the money first and then gave Brendan just this little bitty amount of money. And that at that time, too, they had started a GoFundMe for this fucking auction and the camp out, too, that they had done. So I even have a screenshot of when Barb had posted on that GoFundMe of, you didn't talk to me about this, and I'm pissed because they were using Brendan's name in trying to collect money for their stupid camp out, which, again, is just Carla basically paying to have friends because she doesn't have any. The only way she has people who will pay any attention to her is if they are Making a Murderer lackeys. So, all right, you know, I don't think I'm pissed off here because I'm talking this way. I get animated when I talk. I'm calm, you know, for people to say, don't let it upset you. I'm not upset. So Earl's now attacking me when I didn't say anything about Earl. I've only said it at that point about Carla. So it has to lead you to believe with Earl, what are you really bothered by? Oh, because you want that money for yourself. That's why. Because why are you going to be upset about me telling people to give Stephen and Brendan money? What's wrong with telling people to give Stephen and Brendan money? If they want the family to have it, if they got an influx of money into their canteen, send it home. So I'm not saying anything negative about you, Earl. Now I am. But then I wasn't. I'm telling you to give your money to Stephen and Brendan, who are the ones in prison. I was sent a screenshot today of Sandra posting some items that Stephen is asking for. Why is Stephen asking for items? Why doesn't his family that have just raised over $3,000 to give themselves a Christmas, why aren't they buying that shit for Stephen? Why does Stephen have to then ask for it? So give the money to Brendan and Stephen. If there are people, knock it off. Sorry, my dogs are being idiots. If there's people that are only here because I get asked all the time, who are you? Are you family? No, I am not family, nor do I want to be. All right? Because I hate saying be honest because of Brendan's interrogation. Families, they're not great people. Okay? Look, you know, when you look at their backgrounds on what Chuck has done and Earl has done, even Alan has a criminal background. I don't have that at all. And I was shown the screenshot of Carla saying, you know, oh, let's talk about Jack's record. I don't even want to get started on it. Do it. Somebody investigate me. Show me my record. There's nothing. I have no record. My last speeding ticket was 1990. What Carla likes to accuse me of, and I've discussed it on here before, but we have new people. So, okay. Well, for one, they'll do the whole t-shirt bullshit, which Barb has that money. And I see now Carla, because Carla keeps trying to switch things around, and she's like, I mean the rally shirts. Fuck you, Carla, in the rally shirts. Here's what happened with the rally shirts. My boyfriend designed these. We had this worldwide rally, right? Those shirts went out. And then Carla had kicked me off of this whole rally thing, the Manitowoc rally thing. And I still fucking drove to Wisconsin and delivered people's merchandise that hadn't even paid me. Her little friend Colette Rafferty, that likes to say shit all the time, has never fucking paid me for the shirts that I still sent up there. And she wanted a special banner made because she thinks she's like Brendan just loves her so much. And so she wanted this special Brendan sign. She still fucking got it. Has never paid me for it. Ever. And then Carla's going to say I haven't given her an accounting for the rally shirts. Go fuck yourself. Because those shirts were all given to people who never paid me. The signs. I've said this before. When you see them in Making a Murderer and you see them wearing a rally shirt, or you see them wearing a Steven shirt or a Brendan shirt, those are all shirts that I made and wasn't paid for. And she's going to say, I haven't given her accounting. I've told her she owes me money. I have text messages of when I've said she owes me money. And she hasn't given it to me. So fuck you on the rally shirts, Carla. Second thing they tried to call me out for, because they constantly try to say I steal money. Let me go way back. I was the president of a not-for-profit organization. Oh my God, stop barking at cars that drive past the street. It's an international organization. I was the president of a local chapter. The members of my organization had decided that they no longer wanted to be a part of an international organization, that they wanted to be community focused, because like the organization would have us raise money for a thing called Nothing But Nets, which are malaria nets in Africa. Nothing wrong with that. That's a good thing. But the people in my organization wanted to concentrate on our community, right? So my members voted to dissolve our chapter within this big worldwide organization and become its own organization. And when we did, we transferred all the money we had from our organization to the new organization. This is all legal according to not only my chapter's constitution and bylaws, our state's bylaws, and national's bylaws. When we had our dissolution meeting, I had a past Illinois state president and who was a current national vice president attend our meeting. That everything was legal, and it's all there. There was a past member of my organization who had, prior to me even being a part of the organization, had sued the organization because they wanted to take one of the events that my chapter did, and they wanted to make it their own money-making enterprise instead of what we did it for, which was a community service thing, where we would pay local community groups to work this event, $10 an hour, to work at. So we had churches and soccer clubs and, you name it, that would work it, and it would raise money for their things. So they had sued our organization and lost. So again, them caring about money, what they did when we dissolved, and they weren't even a member of the organization anymore, hadn't been in years. But so when this dissolved, they called the Attorney General's office and said that we stole money from the JC organization. And so their accusation was that upon dissolution of our local chapter, any money we had would go to the state organization, which is not according to the bylaws. And as I said, I had a past president and a current national vice president at the meeting. So she called the Attorney General's office and said we stole money. Then she called the Chicago Tribune, a major paper here, and told the Tribune that we were under investigation for stealing money. So then the Tribune called the Attorney General's office and asked if there was an investigation. And the Attorney General's office said they're not allowed to talk about investigations, but there is an investigation. So then the Tribune posted an article saying that we were under investigation. I have gone and I dealt with the Attorney General's office forever. And so what it was is we were not under investigation. Her complaint was. But the only thing that they would say if asked was that there's an open investigation. So they wouldn't say the investigation was into her complaint, just that there was an investigation. I ended up having to pay the Attorney General's office to give me a letter to say I'm in good standing. I asked them to give me a letter to say that I'm not under investigation, and they said they don't do that. So the only thing I could get from them was to give them money to give me a letter saying that I was in good standing with the Attorney General's office. I then contacted the Chicago Tribune wanting a retraction, and they wouldn't do it. So that's one of the things that they accuse me of, is they're going off of when you get that Chicago Tribune article that says that the organization, and then my name is listed in it, it was under investigation. That's all they have. Nothing ever amounted from it, ever. And I have a binder this thick of everything showing that all of that is not true. And I have letters from 5 state presidents from the organization to state that upon dissolution, our money was our money to do with what we wanted with it. It's the money that we raised and we earned, and it was our money to do with what we wanted. So that's the first thing they try to use on me. The second thing is, again, with that same organization, we had a member, 2 members. They were a mother-daughter, and the daughter has a son who had cancer. And so we did a ton of fundraisers for that family. And so the mother and daughter, plus a friend of theirs, was, they're all vendors of some kind. One lady's an Avon lady, blah, blah, blah. So they said, let's do a vendor show to raise money for the family. And so I was like, okay. And so we were doing it on the Saturday after Thanksgiving. So we made it a whole Christmas thing. The vendor people then booked all these different vendors to be there. We had 20 plus vendors there. And so when vendors go and do a show, they're paying X amount of dollars to book that booth, right? Well, they were handling all that. I had, she was supposed to do it so the money, like if somebody was writing a check or whatever, would come to the organization. But instead she had them write the money in her name, not the mother or daughter, the friend of theirs. So she was collecting all the money, but I'm like, well, you know, we're doing this fundraiser for her friend and, you know, whatever, you know, I'm not going to, I not trust her. So so they were working on the vendor side of it. Then the rest of our organization, we made it a pancake breakfast with, you could have pictures with Santa and all this stuff. So then my organization paid for all the stuff for, pancakes. We had pancakes and eggs and sausage and coffee and orange juice and all that kind of stuff. Then we had the whole stuff for Santa, where your Santa suit. We printed a big banner to go behind the Santa to make it look like, a Christmas thing. We printed signs and flyers and all these things to promote that this event was going to be happening. We spent a lot of money on this event. So the event happens, and my organization always would meet at the second Thursday of every month. So after you run an event, you now have to get together with, here's all the bills, and so here's this money that has to be recouped for these expenses, and then here's what the profit is, blah blah blah. So my organization, they had handed us the cash box we had for, because people had to pay, $10 a person to come in. It was all you could eat breakfast and blah, blah, blah. So we had that door money. They have all that vendor money, which is a lot more money than what came in at the door. But still, you have to take the vendor money and take the door money and put it all together and then go over all your receipts. And then here's what is owed back to the organization for paying for this event, for buying all the pancake batter and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And then here's the money that's left over that goes to the family. So the event, like I said, was the Saturday after Thanksgiving. My meeting is the second Thursday of the month. So the second, so 2 weeks later, we have a meeting. They were supposed to come and bring all their stuff. I even have a text message of when the meeting was starting, and I'm like, you guys aren't here. Are you guys coming? We need to do this. I don't hear from these people for months. Gone. Poof. They're gone. So we kept the cash box with the money that came in at the door. Plus we have all the receipts for the printing, for we bought a whole bunch of candy canes that got passed out if you were with Santa, and the pancakes and blah, 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 all that stuff was sitting there going, are these people ever going to come, and it was only like $400 that came in at the door, not a lot of money. And Jeff's not here, and Jeff would be able to, I don't remember numbers. So then like 8 months later, the mother reaches out to me and says, yeah, we never got that money. And I said, you guys have never come to go over the expenditures of this event. We need to get together and go over what was spent at this event plus what came in. We have no clue what you all have taken in from the vendors, and that we paid for all this printing that you guys asked us for. You asked us for these flyers. They asked us for, they wanted a special letter for the kid to be a thank you letter for the kid and all this stuff. We did all that. Tablecloths for everybody's booths, all this stuff. So then they turn around and make it out like I'm stealing that money. And so then the daughter makes this Facebook post, makes it public, and accuses me of stealing money from her kid, and her poor kid has cancer. Are you fucking kidding me right now? You collected, I don't know how much money from those vendors, and we paid for everything for that event. And you walk away, the money was still sitting here in a cash box to give to you. You just have to come and give us your receipts and what you brought in. But you won't do that. And so that's another thing that that's what Carla is accusing that my record is. But I again go, then prove it. Because I'm showing you all that. If you want one day, we can sit here in the live and I'll pull out my binder and we can go over page by page. I can show you all this stuff of all the proof I have that these are accusations, not facts. as opposed to what Carla does is steals the fucking money. Oh, let's give Carla money because, for all she does. What does she do? She sits on Facebook like we're all doing right now. Somebody should pay you because you're sitting here right now watching me blab to you guys? No, you're not owed anything. I'm not owed anything. I'm here because I want to be. And nobody needs to pay me to do this. And if it was my family member that was in prison, no, you don't have to pay me to try and prove that my family member is innocent. And still, Paul Kaluzinski, when he's on, you'll be able to hear from him. He doesn't want to, he says, oh God, somebody take me to Red Lobster or whatever. But what a real family member would do is if somebody's going to have this money they want to throw away, they're going to say, give it to the person that's in prison. I have my freedom. So let Stephen buy an extra pair of socks. This is ridiculous. So from this, I know probably at this point, Stephen hates me. And if that's something that people don't want to be a part of a group I'm in, that Stephen now no longer likes me, fine, go to Carla's group. But I've never been here for Stephen to like me. I'm not trying to buy people's friendship. So I still believe in Stephen's innocence. I don't have to have a good relationship with him to fight for his freedom. Just like I still fight for Brendan's freedom, even though Brendan has nothing to do with me anymore. Because I used to talk to Brendan on the phone, and I was being added to his visitors list before Barb then put the kibosh on that. So I haven't spoken to Brendan in 2 years now, or whatever it is. I still run Free Brendan. And I just went and saw Knight Rider in prison. I still support Brendan. So I don't need the family's permission to support Stephen and Brendan. And I don't need to be liked by them. And I don't like them. Okay, let me just put that out there. I have no interest in hanging out with Chuck or Earl, or, Dolores. I have spent a little time with her. She's a sweet lady, but she also could care less about me. And I know Earl is supposed to be making a video where she's going to say that she hates me now. But Dolores doesn't care about me even prior to that. She just wants to live her quiet life, and people get out of her hair. So I'm here because of that I believe Stephen and Brendan are innocent, and this shit is fucked up. Just like I'm there for Melissa Kaluzinski, and I'm there for Ken Pellegrini. But as I've said on those before, those families are great families. None of them have any issue of the things that I do for Kent or Melissa. I do the same things for them that I did for Stephen. I had made wristbands for Stephen, and I made wristbands for Brendan. They didn't have any issue taking them from me, those wristbands, and I've done them for Melissa. Kent doesn't want any of that kind of stuff done. But they don't look at it as I'm trying to do something to hurt their family by here I made these wristbands. Or like with Melissa too, I made car stickers. And so I had said anybody who donates $25 to the family GoFundMe, because they're a good family that are actually doing good with the money, and they're actually a broke family that needs that help, because without that help they can't see Melissa. They will put the call out. Paul's sister Helen, who runs the Melissa page, will put it out there around birthdays or Father's Day, Mother's Day, holidays. They would really like to go see Melissa this week. If you could put money in their GoFundMe, and that's all that money does is get them to the prison and back. So they don't take offense to the help I want to give them. They don't see that as, and Paul has told me, he's like, oh, when Melissa is free, okay, Paul probably doesn't want me to say this, but I'm saying it. Paul has said to me, when Melissa is freed and, when they sue for her wrongful conviction and money comes in, we want to, pay you back. And I've always said, no, I don't want any of your money. I want you to go off and live a good life. I'm doing this because I want to, and I feel good. Okay, that's my selfishness. I feel good helping them. So there's times that Melissa needed glasses and I gave them money for that. And Melissa, they'll call me and they're like, oh my God. And their house is about 45 minutes away. I drive to their house and give them cash when they need it. And when Melissa is free and they get their bazillion dollars, just go off and, live your life. I'm happy, that she's free, and I want you guys to live comfortable. You don't have to give me any money back that I have spent, because I feel good that I helped you. That's what's in this for me. So the thing I always say is, Carla keeps, I hate that I always say the thing I always say. I really am an old lady that say all the same things. You see Carla accuse me of anything, confront me with it. Ask me about it. The only thing that I do not talk about is when people ask me, did I pay for Steven Avery Project? Because my deal with Curtis was he didn't want anybody to know anything about it. But then I always turn that around to, what difference would it make if I did pay for Steven Avery Project? Whether I paid for it or I didn't, what difference does it make? What does that hurt anybody? Do you want to try and bag on Curtis that he took money for it? Do you want to try and make it out like I'm pathetic because I paid for a Facebook page? Or will you even believe that Curtis was so attacked by Carla and her people that he just wanted to get the fuck out of it? Because the things they did to Curtis, they actually should be brought up on charges for what they did to him. So I don't want anybody to hold it against Curtis, because I know people will be like, he doesn't visit Steven anymore. He can't, because if he went to go visit Steven, the family would still be after him. He had to completely just walk away. So, and you see what Carla and her people do to me. All right. My son is 25. I'm 47. Curtis is a young guy. He had a young child at the time, and then his wife got pregnant with another child. It's not worth it for him to have to deal with the shit they did to him. They tried to ruin his marriage. They did things like accusing him of trying to kill people. Really bad. And they did that to, I know people were discussing about this the other day, the original family group, because it was just something that a supporter had started, and then Carla got her mitts on that one. The things they did to that Jennifer woman, and she's another one. Poof, she's gone. Because for a lot of people, this shit just isn't worth it. Probably the same people on here that will bitch at me and go, why don't just block Earl? Well, I don't just block Earl because I think it's funny, the shit he says. And I think it's funny to show you people what that fucking douchebag is really like. Sorry, I've got bad language. What he's really like. I think it's funny. And I like to poke the bear. See what I can get him to say. So that's why when he said something about go home or do you have one or something like that, trying to insinuate I don't have a house or whatever, I don't know. So then that's why I said, oh yeah, I'm poor. You have 2 houses, don't you, Earl? Because I know he's got his 1 house and I know he's got the Crivets house. And then he eventually says he has 5 houses and that they're all paid for. You know, so I said that intentionally because I didn't know about the 5, but I'm assuming the 5 houses he's going to talk about is something that y'all probably don't realize is Ellen and Dolores don't own the salvage yard. Chuck and Earl do. Chuck and Earl own Dolores's trailer. Al and Dolores signed off everything to Chuck and Earl. So they own it all. So that's probably what he's claiming. All paid for. There's no mortgage. So I was saying shit to see what he'll say, to incriminate himself further. Just like I always do with Barb. When messages me out of the blue, I will say things, because I'm not messaging them. They're the ones that reach out to me. So that text message, and Barb's really funny. And same thing with Earl. They block me. And then they unblock me to send me something else. So Barb has me blocked on Facebook, but once upon a time, Barb and I were friends. So she text messaged my cell phone. I'm not contacting Barb. I'm not doing anything. Well, yes, I did happen to drive past her house, but literally it's because that's where our GPS took us, that we were going past her house, and I've been in her home before, so I know her house. But these people are attacking me. And I'm going to push their buttons if they're attacking me, for fuck's sake. So somebody's going to fault me, then I'm going to push their buttons. They came at me. If they leave me alone, I'm not going to do anything to them. Same thing goes with, don't have these fucking stupid GoFundMes. And then you won't have me saying anything about, why are you paying for Carla to go to Red Lobster? Why are you paying for Carla to have a party at her house with her friends? Yep, she's going to give some stuff to Dolores because she has to. Because people will notice if Dolores doesn't get anything. So she's got to do the minimum. And sure, but then something else we've discussed before. Why haven't they been doing this stuff the whole time? So when you see the pictures of Carla showing what she did for Dolores in her bathroom, are you fucking kidding me? Now you're going to do that for Dolores? Why didn't you do that for her years ago? Oh, you're only doing it now because supporters are watching and they want Dolores taken care of. But when supporters aren't watching, you don't even go visit her. Well, also, she doesn't want you there. And I have talked privately with Dolores about Carla and Barb. I'm not going to repeat what she told me. But it's not all loving family going on there. All right, I've been ranting. I've almost been on for an hour already, and I've been ranting and not going over your stuff. So now I will start scrolling with. A lot of you have probably asked something that's already been scrolled away and I can't see it. So I'm just going to go over what I can see. And then also when I see it's people that are replying to each other that it says reply, I don't read those. I just skip over them and try to get to the stuff that you're saying to me or in general. Excuse me. Lily says, I get that, but as long as Cece and the family keeps going after Jack, she has every right to explain. And Tiffany says, yes, Lily. And I don't know how to pronounce your name from Dublin. How do you pronounce that? That looks like Anne Elizabeth Evans. Holly says, in good standing with the Attorney General equals nothing. Last Attorney General wasn't crooked at all. Yeah. I was just with my new Attorney General today, Kwame Raoul. So hopefully things were changed once Kwame gets sworn in next month. Kwame Raoul. Jean says, I don't feel like they are poor or need money. The Averys own all that land and the trailers, so they don't even have a mortgage, probably. And if they sold all that land, I'm sure it's over $1 million with all those acres. That's not poor. Well, also their property in Crivets. I can't remember whose it is, if it was Chuck's or Earl's, is 40 acres. So his alone. Okay, Lacey says, we are all here for support. Let's support. Yes. Christy says, can't we all just get along? We are all here for the same reason. Well, and I don't know what the argument is that's going back and forth here from that, but let me just again say that this group is the gossip group. So this is the group that stuff like the family stealing money and all this bullshit will get discussed. I know that ultimately everybody comes to all of this because they're supporters of Stephen and Brendan. And we are too. But this gossip group is the one and only place that we discuss this stuff. We also have the Stephen Avery Project page and group, and you will see none of this on there. We do not post any of it on there. I don't do none of that. So this is the group to discuss these things. So if it's something that you're not comfortable, that you don't want to hear about this, you're so over the drama, you don't want to hear about it anymore. Either A, gossip's not the group for you. B, skip over any of the threads that have the gossip things that you don't want to read. Don't read them. Skip it. People bitching at each other. Ooh, I don't even know what's going on. Heidi saying, stop and grow up. Didn't y'all read Jax's post today? Oh, I don't know what's going on there. Danielle says, I wish I could watch at my daughter's choir concert. Well, yeah. Sometimes got family first, right? Michelle says, are you talking about CW right now? I don't know who CW is. Who's CW? Andrea says, it's Jax's room. Calm your tots, please. Oh my God, what is going on? I support Jax, but Brandy berating Lewis was uncalled for. All right, I still don't know what's going on. Christy says, that's what the admins are for. They do a great job making sure everybody is acting decent. That includes everybody. Just saying. Carrie, so she's one of our moderators here. I'll read her post because maybe that'll help me understand what's going on in here. There's plenty of reading material about the case in the groups and on the page. This is a gossip group. We talk about the case and gossip in this group. We have a Stephen Avery Project page that is case only. We also have, okay, so she's saying, you're welcome to stay around, but there will be gossip in this group. If you don't like it, you're welcome to leave. And we're not, and when Carrie says that, and when I say it, we're not meaning it in a bitchy way. But the stuff that the family is doing just needs to be out there, you know, with them constantly stealing from supporters. So that's why I started gossip, because I wanted to talk about this bullshit and I wanted some place to do it. So gossip is going to happen here. The thing that I ask from all of you is not to fight each other. And I also started deleting people out of the group that wanted to tell me off, because I know I've said, and the one person said to me, you said you don't have to like you to be in this group. Yeah, but there's only so much shit talking I'm going to take of you making on the group I started. You know, I'm not going to keep fighting people to defend myself in my group. So, you know, just then go to Carla's group, you know, where you can shit talk me. Connie says, personally, friends, I think people need to know this information about the family, and I think those in here need to know too, so they are informed about the type of people they are dealing with and being scammed by. Folks' hearts are huge and they want to help, but they are helping where help is not really needed. Gotcha. Connie says, I don't know Jax on a personal level, met her through these groups, and only know her on the level you all do. I do, though, follow other cases and know other families act like this one. Honestly, it's way out there. If families are trying to gather funds, it's usually for lawyers, the person in prison, etc. Bruce says, maybe the family is asking for all this money so Scott and Bobby can hire themselves attorneys. Once Kathleen proves that they murdered Teresa, they're going to need them. Yeah. Amanda says, yep, none of the other families in cases act like this family does. It is truly offensive. Oh my God, that again, can we all swoon again about Bill Ferguson, Ryan Ferguson's dad? I want him to be my dad. What a great man. My God, I'm tearing up talking about that again. So watching Dream Killer and seeing how much Ryan's dad fought for him. Oh, love it. Matt says, who gives a shit either way? I'm glad you're here with up-to-date info. Joy says, who is Curtis? Curtis is who started Stephen Avery Project. He ran it for a year and I took it over when he left. But people like Carrie, one of the moderators here, Carrie and Patty, were with Curtis. And they're the ones that then suggested to Curtis when he had it and was going to walk away that I would be the best person to take over this group. Lacey says, this whole situation is so sad. I agree. Christy says, that's sad. They're trying to do the same to you. Yes. Carrie says, that's what I remember, Curtis. I loved it back then before all that bullshit happened. Yeah. Connie says, they were brutal to Curtis. They tried to break up his marriage. And at one point, Curtis's wife did leave him because of the things that Carla and her people did to just try and ruin Curtis, because Curtis had the group with the biggest numbers. The reason Curtis has the group with the biggest numbers is, first of all, he started it immediately after making a murder. So you had that to begin with. And the bulk of people who are who care about this case, so the 178,000 people on Stephen Avery Project, they don't want to hear about any of this shit. They don't care about fundraisers. They just want to know about the case, period. And no page that Carla runs is going to run that way. It's always going to be about Carla and what Carla can get and what episode and minute and second that she's in making a murderer. Nobody cares about that. The bulk of the people who do making a murderer. And so there is no way they could have taken over this group and it would, or not this group, Stephen Avery Project, and it run the way that Curtis intended. We have tried to keep Stephen Avery Project as Curtis intended. I have not changed the pictures on it. The pictures on it, the cover picture and the little profile picture are the ones that Curtis made that was left. So, you know, but they were desperate for it because it has those numbers. That's all. Christy says it makes them look so stupid to be running off all these supporters. Yeah, they don't care. Tiffany said, why did they sign it all to them? I don't know. But I was shown recently, somebody had looked it up on who owns what. So yeah, Alan Dolores don't own anything. Amanda, it's unreal that not only has this family is money grubbing, but they show no appreciation for supporters' hard work, but also go out of their way to sabotage them. Nuts. Melinda says, what a poisonous web they weave. Thank you, Jax, for unraveling it for us. Well, thank you for being here. Christy says, oh, so he means Steve's house, his house, the parents' house, Barb's old house. Well, not Steven's house. That's something that many people never understand. Is Steven's trailer and his garage and the land it's on is not owned by the Avery family. It is owned by Raleigh Johnson. Raleigh Johnson is a friend of Alan Avery's. He wanted a place to park his trailer. And so Alan, I don't know how many years ago, a while ago, sold that to him. Sold that little piece of land. And so Raleigh put all that stuff there. Raleigh has testified. So you can see that all on StephenAveryCase.org when Raleigh testified. Everything in Stephen's trailer belonged to Raleigh. The only things that Jody, Steven's then girlfriend, moved into that house was a bed and a computer desk. All the furniture, everything in there was Raleigh's. And Steven and Jody were renting that from Raleigh. So that 22 Marlin rifle, that, first of all, my boyfriend's an NRA instructor. I don't know anything about guns, but he says the 22 is a very common. So this Marlin 22 that they got Steven on, because Steven is a felon, and so he's not allowed to own guns. Because even though the Penny Bernston case he was acquitted of, he was still a felon from his cousin when he had the gun and pointed it at his cousin. So when he was sentenced in the Penny Bernston case, he was also charged with the stuff with the cousin with the gun. So he is a felon and cannot have a gun. And when they searched his house, since these are all Raleigh Johnson's things, this was his hunting trailer. There's a 22 rifle that was hanging above Steven's bed in that bedroom, and it was Raleigh's gun. So Raleigh has even testified that was his gun. Raleigh had testified that he would go around the salvage yard and shoot varmints. And so that, so even like that magic bullet they found in Raleigh's garage could have been Raleigh shooting it, because there was a hole there and some kind of, I don't know what, I just say varmint. I'm thinking of, Caddyshack, varmint, they were shooting at the varmint right there. So, some casings that were in there could have been from Raleigh when he was shooting his 22. Steven's not allowed to have a 22, so inevitably, so Steven, regardless of what would happen with Teresa Hallback, he's in trouble because he had that gun and he's a felon and he can't have it. But it was Raleigh's gun, blah, blah, blah. It's also stupid. But so that trailer and everything is Raleigh's. So that's something early on when I was investigating like I'm something important. But when you think about the search warrant and stuff, and it's like, what exactly did that search warrant say? Was it legal for them to go in Steven's trailer? Because if that search warrant just says Avery property, well, Steven doesn't live on Avery property. He lives on Raleigh Johnson property. So, but back to going about Earl, there's Chuck lives in Barb's old trailer. Dolores has a trailer there. There's another trailer there that used to be Chuck's that is right by where the license plate was found, which, the dogs hit on his trailer over there by the where the license plate was. So plus whatever house Earl lives in and Crivets. And then they own the salvage yard. And then he said to me too, when he was trying to say, to make sure I'm not, what did he call it? For trespassing? I can't remember what he called it. But so he was trying to say that I couldn't be by the Avery salvage yard sign that is at on 147 in Avery Road, because he rents that property that the sign's on. Oh, so you can afford to rent that property too. Huh. Okay. So going into the next, San says, we had so much fun driving past her house. I had so much fun yesterday. And that was, I was trying to wake my boyfriend up and, because I'm like, let's go. I've been saying for a while I want to go. But I didn't think it was smart for me to go alone, even though I'm not truly scared of them. Oh my God, why am I being sent to this picture? Hold on. It's somebody sharing a picture of Lynn Hartman and Carla with Steven, calling them both scammers. It's somebody put it on our page. Okay, Carrie, if you're listening to me, keep it. It's funny. where was I? What was I talking about? Oh, so I was waking him up and I'm like, let's go. He wanted us to do work around the house because, with his schedule and my schedule, we're hardly ever in the same place at the same time to actually do some work. But I'm like, let's go because, he doesn't have any time other than on the weekends. So I talked him into going up there. And yeah, it was, I was sent a map with all these circles going around of here's where you guys actually went. Um, so I know it was way longer than it should have been because we didn't know where we were going and trying to follow the GPS thing. But I did find it really interesting. My big aha moment was when we drove through the quarry, the Jumbo Road entrance to the quarry, and went back the closest to the Avery property or towards the Avery property. And I went up on that berm. And then from that berm, you could see the salvage yard and you could see the Josh Ranant's deer camp. And now right on the side of that deer camp, because if you look at the first video that I did, the Cuss Road one, when you're on Cuss Road where Kathleen is saying that Teresa was stopped and where Bobby got her, and at some point had buried her temporarily in the ground over there, it's all right there. So yeah, when it took me forever to get to things, it's again because you're driving forever around all the woods and over the river and through the woods, all that, but that stuff is all right there. So when I was on top of the berm, you could see where that trailer is, the deer camp. So Cuss Road is right there. And then you could see the salvage yard. And then Barb's house is over here where that dam was. It's all right there that you could walk to within 20 minutes. So I found that really interesting because I had never looked at all of that stuff before. I've only done the going, through the Avery salvage yard when I was there. And then I've gone through that Jumbo Road or whatever it's called into the quarry, but I was only looking at that time just to go, see, it's so easy that you could drive through this quarry and drive into the back of this salvage yard. So, and that's something Carla told me the first time, first time I had been there. She said that everybody knew that road through there because Carla used to have parties when she was a kid out in the salvage yard where they would drink and get high and whatever back there. And so everybody knew how to sneak in the back there. And so she could have her little things and nobody would know about it. All right, let me go back to your comments if I can get to them. All right, Connie says, an MAM2, when Ma Avery was messed up on her meds, that killed me. Yeah. Kristen says, my son just sailed through the kitchen and said, man, she has a potty mouth like you, Mom, and he's 7. I'm sorry, I don't mean to do that to your young son. I apologize. I'll try not to have my potty mouth. Joyce says, so they're asking supporters to fund Ma and Pa Avery's Christmas and their own kids won't do it. Right. Yeah. So you have, so there's Chuck and Earl and Barb. And then you have Carla, who's an adult. Carla has 2 sisters and a brother. Where are they? Why don't we hear from them at all? And then there's all Barb's sons that aren't in prison. Carla's got over 18-year-old kids, so yeah, why aren't all these people taking care of them? And Natasha says, Barb doesn't even speak to Dolores, does she? Or at least she never used to, from what I understand. Barb's never been well liked in the family. And yeah, there's a definite rift between her and Dolores. Carolina says, are you in regular contact with KZ? No, I am not. I will email her on questions or whatnot. Sometimes she answers me. and sometimes she doesn't. Because as I've said before, I'm nothing to Kathleen. She's busy. She's got way more important things to do than to talk to me. So I will ask her on things. Here's an example. And maybe people are going to get mad at me for this. I don't know, but I don't care. When I first took over Steven Avery Project, Steven knew I had done shirts for Brendan because I made shirts for, his family. I made a shirt for his mom, for his dad. Actually, his mom and his dad did not want a Brendan shirt. They wanted a Steven shirt. I wasn't doing Steven shirts, but I made special Steven shirts for them. And then, of course, Carla then wanted one, and Carla's husband wanted one, and Chuck wanted one, and not paid for any of these shirts. So Steven said he wanted me to make a Steven shirt to sell, to make money for him. And he said that he had always asked Curtis to do that, and Curtis wouldn't do it. Because Curtis was real big on not wanting anything to do with money because of the attacks from Carla. I don't do, if it's something that I question, I ask KZ first. And so I emailed her and I said, Steven wants me to sell shirts for him. She said no. So I didn't do it. And it's one of the things that Steven wasn't happy with me about. Kathleen said, no, do not sell shirts. So that's why you've never seen me sell a shirt for Steven, because Kathleen said no. So I get it. Steven wants the money. I understand it. But my faith is in Kathleen and knowing what is best for Steven's case. And that Steven doesn't know what's best for his case. She does. So I'm going to follow what Kathleen says. So sometimes she answers me and sometimes she doesn't. I actually emailed her today. I won't tell you what I emailed her on. If she answers me, then I will tell you. If she doesn't answer me, then, I don't want to put out there what I was asking her about. All right. So scrolling up, and sorry again for people, but when I blab that your comments scroll up to where I can't get it. Lewis says, sorry. Okay, Jax, thank you for clearing that up. Big fan. Thank you. Well, thank you for being here. Lorraine says, Chuck and Earl apparently don't need the money. Please donate directly to Steven's Canteen or to Kathleen Zellner. Yeah. Again, yeah. I don't see why that's a bad thing to say, is to give money to Steven or Brendan or to their lawyers. Jean says, Jax, love your videos. Well, thank you. Debbie says, just got on, not going to ask what's going on. Anne says, Mama Jax has landed. Everybody kiss and make up now. Tori says, hey, Jax. Hello, Tori. Connie says, everyone needs a dad like Ryan's. Oh, Bill Ferguson. I have a Bill Ferguson crush. Tiffany says, he is such an awesome dad. I wish Ryan's show was still on too. Yeah, Ryan Ferguson had a show on MTV that was helping wrongfully convicted. And I'd really like to reach out to Ryan, but I don't know how. He lives in Chicago. That Patty showed me from one of his tweets that he's living in Chicago now. And I looked at both his Facebook and his Twitter, and there's no way on there that I could reach out to him, because I would love to have him do a Facebook Live on Steven Avery Project and for him to talk about his thoughts on Steven's case. And I know he's attached to Melissa's case, Melissa Kaluzinski's case too. So I would love to get him together with Paul Kaluzinski. Oh my God. And if we could get Bill Ferguson too, swoon. Tanya says, Ryan's dad, is a definition of what a parent or family does to stand by their family members. April says, is there any new action being taken in the case? And then right below that is Brandy saying, any news in the case? Well, Zellner is tweeting teases. So she is supposed to be filing on the 20th, but that's just a date to file by. So she could file tomorrow. You know, she's keeping us on our toes. So something's coming out and soon, and it will be new evidence, and our minds will be blown. I don't have inside information, so don't think what I'm saying is because I know anything. I have full faith in Kathleen. So something big is going to happen. So, and we'll do a live on it, and we'll discuss it all together. Probably when it comes out. I did this once, I think for her last filing, so I had it up on my second screen and read it with you all. I think I read it all first privately and then went live and read it a second time with you guys so we could all discuss it. So, yeah, April, and Brandy, Zellner keeps hinting that major stuff is about to drop. I'm talking like it's an album. And it'll be done by the end of this month. Brandy says, I've never heard about fundraisers. Lacey says, do you still speak to Curtis? No. Or he had to walk away completely. He walked away completely. And I'm sure that it was hard for him. You know, so does he sometimes look at Stephen Avery Project? He may. But it's such a sore spot with him and his wife because of everything it did to their lives that, you know, for their mental health, the best thing to do is to just walk, you know, but I guess I'm already crazy. So it's easier for me to go through the attacks. Stacy says, Jax, will the IRS investigate the income they have made from donations since they are not registered as a no profit? By the way, looking good, girl. Oh, well, thank you. I actually, you know, blow dried my hair today and put on some makeup because I went to a friend of mine was inaugurated today in Chicago for Cook County Commissioner. And so it was a special day to be able to go and see that he won, you know, and he's a young guy. He's also openly gay, and they have never had an openly gay Cook County Commissioner. So it was awesome. Will the IRS investigate? I don't know, but also something else that I've learned is, and it's something Paul Kaluzinski is supposed to talk to you all about whenever he's feeling better, but due to Stephen and Brendan signing away everything to Netflix, nobody is supposed to be able to make money off of this case. So Netflix can actually sue if they wanted to. But I don't know if they would want to, because people would say how horrible that looks that you're going to take money away from this family since so many people feel so bad for them. But I can tell you, I have a video that my boyfriend Jeff actually did, because somebody was scrubbing stuff from the internet from Brendan's interrogation, that they were removing certain sections of it, of, you know, what did you do, Brendan? Who shot her, Brendan? They were removing some of that stuff and it was getting scrubbed. And so we worked hard to find it in its entirety. And so then we posted it on YouTube, on Injustice Anywhere's YouTube. Injustice Anywhere is who owns the Free Brendan page that I'm an admin of. And they also own freebrendan.org. And so Injustice Anywhere has a YouTube, so they put it there. And Netflix did come a-calling, because remember, YouTube, there's a lot of people on YouTube that make money off of their YouTube things. And so Netflix came and told us that that was their property. And also nobody could be making money off of this case. And so we had to prove that we weren't making any money off of that video. And so then they gave us the permission to use it. So if Netflix wanted to, they could hammer down on any of these fundraisers trying to raise money using Stephen and Brendan's name, because they own Stephen and Brendan. I don't know how these GoFundMes and all that bullshit works. Oh, sorry, I swear again. On having to claim as a deduction. I am not somebody, Stacy, to ask on that stuff, because I'm horrible with anything with numbers. I swear, I am the worst. I don't know what it is about my brain, because like even my own phone number, even my age, there will be times that I'll go, how old am I? And it's not because I'm old and senile and doing that. It's always been a number thing for me. My brain does not compute numbers. It's weird. But then I'll remember my phone number from when I was a little kid, because my mother was all about doing things. So our phone number she made into a song, 8323758. That's my phone number, not a date. A dumb song. I'm like 7, but to this day I still remember it because she put it in that song form. So I'm not a person to ask on that stuff. Torre says, thanks for all you do for us and have this negative shit to deal with. In Jax, I trust. Well, thank you. Brandy says, oh my God, how did I reply to myself? Tracy says, dang, I'm late. These always stay up afterwards, so you can play it later if you miss stuff. Shannon says, not on any of Carla's pages, but all I hear is drama, bashing, and fundraising for Red Lobster posted on there. We want updates and explanations, and that is what you provide. Thanks. Well, good, because yeah, we provide a lot of talking about drama and bashing and fundraising for Red Lobster, but we also give the other stuff too. Brandy says, who is Carla and why do we hate her? If I started getting into that, I've already been talking for an hour and a half. We'd be here for another 5. Carla is Stephen's niece who named herself family spokesperson, and she's only about this case for what she can get out of it for herself. Is that a good thing? Short thing? Paula says, is the money they're collecting subject to taxes? Are they a registered charity, 501c? Do they need to account for all the money they have collected? Yeah, see, again, Paula, I'm not sure, because these GoFundMes, you can make GoFundMes for anything. Carla's son did a GoFundMe for himself because he wanted to fix up his car. Sandra did a GoFundMe for herself because her basement flooded. You hear about all these GoFundMes. This one, so one of Carla's minions who I saw posting all upset that I said she had a GoFundMe and it was a you care. Okay, well, you have a crowdsource funding thing because her kid needed medical care. So I'm not sure because I've never had a GoFundMe. I've never asked people to raise money for me. So, but that's something else that Paul Kaluzinski is going to talk to you about because they have a GoFundMe. So he'll be able to tell you on what happens with taxes and all that stuff. So, we'll be rescheduling with Paul Kaluzinski, and then you guys can ask him about that, but I know he would prefer people, if you really wanted to help Melissa or you wanted to help the family in money to, the gas cards type deal, but it would actually be used for them. He would prefer money came to him directly and not through GoFundMe because it does take a chunk out. They do get a portion of it. You don't get 100% of it. So, and then same thing goes for the prison. When I went with Paul last week and Cheryl, Melissa's mother, to go visit Melissa. There's one machine where you put money on the card so we could buy food and stuff in the visitors room. And then there's one machine where you can put money directly on our commissary. And so I put in $40, but only 35 of it. I think the receipt's still out in my car. I think she only got 30. She only gets 35 of it, or maybe it was 34 and change, that they took $5 and change. Please. Yeah. Again, math. See? So the prison always takes their slice out of everything. Connie says, we use our 22 for rabbits. Yeah, the 22 is supposed to be a very common shotgun, or whatever you call it. Brandy says, okay, I attempted to reply to each of you, and it just says Brandy Barrett. Oh, okay. Sienna says, my 1-year-old saw you on the screen and blew you a kiss and waved hello. Well, back at ya. Trespassing. Thank you, Andrea. I couldn't remember what that was. Charlotte, question. Do you think KZ will ever get access to the RAV4? Sorry if this has been asked. Don't apologize. That happens all the time. Do I think she will ever get it? I hope so, because I don't get why she doesn't. It's not right. She should have an equal crack at the evidence, shouldn't she? I don't get it. So I hope she does. Well, and actually, I think she has said, right, all she cares about is that tail light or headlamp or whatever that is. But also should care about the fingerprints. Would the fingerprints even still be there? Does somebody know about that? But there were fingerprints found on the RAV4 that they never even looked at who they were. They didn't match Stephen and Brendan, so we don't care. We don't care whose they are. They're not Stephen and Brendan's. Connie says Stephen can't even be legally charged with the gun since it was the owner's. Well, but it was in the place that Stephen was living, even with him being a felon. I tried getting my son evicted from my house under the ruse we had guns, and he was a felon. The police told me that did not matter because he did not own the guns. Huh. That's interesting. But what I was told, because like when Brendan's conviction was overturned and there was a chance that Brendan was going home and you had to have this whole exit strategy or whatever that had to be, so the courts had to know where he was living, how he was getting there, blah, 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 everything. And Scott had thrown a big fit that he didn't want Brendan in his house because he would not be allowed to keep his guns there as long as Brendan was there. So, and Brendan's never going to own a gun. He doesn't like hunting. He doesn't want to, which, yeah, people think he's part of killing a woman. But I had talked to Brendan back when I used to talk to Brendan on the phone, and his mom and everybody, his stepdad are always going hunting. And so I asked him about hunting, and it's like, no, he would never. No. So, yeah, so Brendan's never going to own a gun, so it would have been Scott's. Lorraine, and your thing's about to disappear on me. Here in Wisconsin, it's too cold to have any hobby other than creating unnecessary soap operas, LOL. For most, not some. And no, I'm not referring to Jax at all. I think she's a breath of fresh air through all of this. Well, yeah, just in Wisconsin yesterday, I spent my summers as a kid up in Hayward. I love Wisconsin. It's really pretty. Matt, yours now is about to disappear. Question about Brendan's case. Rewatching Making Murder 2, it seemed Knight Rider was nervous and not well prepared in front of the full panel of judges. Am I wrong? I wonder if KZ would have been the attorney if the result would have, and now it just disappeared on me. So sorry. Yeah, I do not think she did a good job there. And I like Laura Knight Rider. And I know she's very passionate about his case. Now, I know from that I just went and saw Drizzt and Knight Rider on Saturday, and they talked about like when they only had the 3 judges, you don't know what judges you're going to get until that day. And then when they were going to the en banc, is that how it's pronounced? I always just want to call it en banc because that's how it's spelled, but is it en banc or something like that? That's the whole panel. Well, they thought they were going to have a good shot, but then one of the judges that they thought they were going to have a good shot with retired. Like the week before or 2 weeks before Brendan's case was going to go. And they're like, oh man. So, what some people have said in Laura's defense, which I do agree with, they weren't really letting her speak and they think that rattled her. So, but I do not think that was Nyrider's best performance. But I don't know, after hearing what they said about the judges, if it would have made a difference. That I think those judges were going to rule that way regardless. So that's sucky. Debbie says, funny, my kids say, oh my God, you're listening to that lady that talks forever. Yeah, we're on 1 hour and 36 minutes right now. Yeah. Okay, replies. Carolina saying, I totally agree with everything you're saying. Amanda says, think about this craziness. If Barb has profiting from this bullshit, then so is Scott the monster, Bobby, who most likely are the murderers, whom that family is also helping them from going to KZ to prove they aren't guilty and defending them. Garbage. Right? And that's what I said to Barb yesterday when she's like, we're innocent. Then why aren't you talking to Kathleen? If you go, so if you're innocent, go tell Kathleen. Kathleen is not out to prove Scott and Bobby are guilty. She's out to find who's guilty. So she would love to clear you off. Same thing goes for Ryan Hilgas, that she says, come on down, Ryan Hilgas, because Ryan Hilgas is still a Denny suspect. She's not saying for sure it was Scott and Bobby, even though like her videos and stuff and everything she's saying is saying it's Scott and Bobby, but there's still the chance it's Ryan. So come on down, Ryan. Go talk to Kathleen. She's not the one that's going to frame you and coerce you into something that's not true. She wants the truth. She's not going to take a case unless she knows that person is innocent. She doesn't want the lies or the bullshit. So go talk to them, Scott, Bobby, Ryan. Can I scroll to that one? Okay. What does Ryan do now? Shelley says he's a nurse, a registered nurse. And he changed his name to Ryan Hill. He doesn't go by Hilgas anymore. He's Ryan Hill. And is that suspicious or not? Debbie says, I pray those directors that own the rights to Steven's name goes after them for all the money. Shelley says, tweet Ryan, you can't. And I'm not a Twitter person, but Patty, one of the moderators here, looked into it, and you can only tweet at Ryan if he follows you. So if any of you, if he follows you, tweet at Ryan and tell him to come to... Hold on. I'm on live right now. Are you coming home? Okay, give me food. Okay, bye. All right. So Jeff's on his way home from work early. So when he gets home, I'll be off of here. Get me food because I'm fat, but I'm not going to say I have an eating addiction like Earl did. I'm fat because I eat and I don't exercise. Amy says, is there a way to send you a message which would include a picture? Well, yeah, you can message through Facebook and you can attach a picture to that. Also, if you ever want to email me, my email for the Avery stuff is official Stephen Avery Project @gmail.com. So you can send an email that way too. Or if you don't remember what that email address, we also have a website, Stephen Avery, StephenAveryProject.org. I was going to say case because I'm so used to promoting where you could go get all the documents. So StephenAveryProject.org, and they have a thing where you can send message, and that emails me from that as well. Replies. Holly says, can you imagine if the money Carla has raised so far, if she was banking it for Bobby and Scott's defense? Just another thought. Yeah, somebody else mentioned that. Carla hates Scott, and Scott hates Carla. Scott actually told me back when I was friends with them that he would like to kill Carla. So there you go. Jennifer says we're all crazy. Tanya says, if Netflix owns the story, then how do the authors of books get around that? Yeah, I don't. Well, it's just Netflix would have to come for them. Do they care to come for them or not? I don't know. I guess it's just up to their discretion. I don't know how any of that works. Because, like, okay, here's another example. Back when, because once upon a time, Brendan had named the Free Brendan page that I am admin of, that it was his official Facebook page, right? And so I talked with Nyrider and Drizzen on occasion back then. And so then I had said earlier at the beginning of this how Brendan is lost in Steven's shadow type thing. And so I asked Nyrider if I could do an interview with Brendan, but it wouldn't be anything about the case. It would be things like, getting to know Brendan. So think of Tiger Beat magazine or whatever, whatever those kitty magazines were. And so, what's his favorite color? What's his favorite holiday? What's his favorite food? All that kind of stuff. Because I know they can't discuss their case. And Laura told me no. And she's like, and she was defensive though too, because she's like, I don't want you to get, please don't get upset, and I don't want you to leave the case. Keep doing what you're doing. And I'm like, no, I'm all for what is best for the case. I'm not going to do anything against it. Carrie just sent another funny picture. Sorry. And she said, you can't do it because Netflix owns Brendan's story. And then Laura said, but that doesn't have anything to do with me. I'm his criminal attorney. That deal was through his entertainment attorney. And that's all I know on that. I didn't ask any more questions. I do have, and I don't know if it's up on, because the website is freebrendan.org. Oh, if you're asking if you can post that picture, go for it. I don't care. Sorry, moderator's talking. So I did do, Brendan had sent me a letter of answering a whole bunch of stuff. And I think I put it out there at some point on what all those things were. So I asked him, what's your favorite holiday? What's your favorite sports team? What's your favorite movie? What's your favorite, all that kind of stuff. So, so I had something like that at some point, but Laura had told me, no, you can't flat out do something because of his contract with Netflix. Christy says, maybe they're waiting for KZ to do her thing, then bring the hammer down. Kimberly says, oh my God, I'm the same with numbers. Good. Then I'm not the only one. Amy says, any new news about them? No, just that Kathleen is teasing that she's going to drop something soon. Sorry. Amanda says, also, Carla profits, but she is secretly a guilter and has many guilter friends. I believe even though they all won't come out and say it, including Barb, they insinuate Steven is guilty, which of course says Brendan as well, because their adamant denial of Bobby and Scott being guilty contradicts them really proclaiming Steven and Brendan's innocence. Carla told me she thought Steven was guilty. And her husband Stacy told me that she believed Stephen was guilty. Stacy told me he hated Stephen. Both Stacy and Scott told me that Stephen treated the family like shit the 2 years that he was out, and they were happy he was gone. They were happy to be rid of him. And my defense to Stephen treating them like shit for the 2 years he was out is because he had been in for 18 years and they all dropped him and said he was guilty. Nobody visited him. Nobody did anything. But then when he gets out, when it was proven he didn't do it and there's cameras around, who's all there but the family that didn't go see him? And then the 2 years he's out, he treated them according to them, the family, who now wants you to give them money. Stephen treated us like shit, so we were glad he went back. And Stephen treats you like shit because you abandoned him and said he was guilty. And the reason they took his shit for the 2 years, which is another thing that I don't recall if it was Stacy or Scott that told me this, is because they were all banking on his money. And so they wanted his money, so they were going to eat his shit. And Stephen knew they're going to eat his shit because they want his money when his payday comes in. So he's going to keep dishing it out at them. So fuck them all. Whoops, there's my language again. And then, yes, Carla is friends with guilters. And that's something that Christy, one of the moderators here, had said to me, which was like a big light bulb moment for me, that she phrased it in such a way that I was like, oh, yeah. Because it's like, Carla's always defending her relationship with guilters. And, well, everybody's entitled to their opinion and we can all just get along. But you attack me constantly. I'm not a guilter. I say Stephen and Brendan are innocent. Just the only thing I say is if you want to give your money to somebody, give it to Stephen and Brendan. Don't give it to Carla. But I'm the bad one. But people who literally, Richard Donovan has literally said he hopes Dolores dies. And she has him at the rally this last summer and has pictures of her arms around, or her arm around him and her head on his shoulder. Oh my God, what the hell was that? Oh, my dog knocking a thing off the table because Jeff's home. So Jeff is home and he has brought me dinner. So I'm not going to be able to get to the rest of your comments. But thank you all for joining again tonight. I don't know when I'm going on next. So I'm just going to leave you again with, please try and play nice in here with each other. You know, you can disagree with somebody's opinion, but you don't have to attack them for having a different opinion than you. Unless it's a rat. Oh, and as I've said to people before too, or that I made the post today on rats. So if you're in any of Carla's millions of groups and you see somebody is sharing screenshots in here, let us know and we'll ban them and kick them out. We know other rats will come in behind them. You can't keep up with all of them, of people making fake accounts and this and that. But when you uncover a rat, you're going to get rid of them. So let us know if you see any rats. You can send it to us privately. You can post it publicly. However you feel best that you want to deal with it. You know, and we'll call you our, are you our rat squad or exterminators? Oh, and I said this in another live. Jeff's still not in the house. We have Justice for Brendan page and group that I have severely neglected. I know that Patty and Carrie both tried to post stuff on there. I've been really bad at keeping up with it. So I thought maybe it might be good to get a team of you that we put on as moderators for the Brendan group. And so if there's anybody that's got a strong attachment for Brendan and you would like to try and make that page and group grow, send us a message, and then all of us moderators will talk about y'all on who we think, because, you know, obviously I'm sure you can understand it's hard for us to trust people. You know, Patty and Carrie, like I said, have been here since before me. And, you know, so I 100% trust them. And I'm always nervous about adding somebody else because I get screwed over so much by, you know, I was friends with Carla, I was friends with Barb, you know, Steven now is supposedly hates me. So I get a little nervous about adding new people, but the Brendan Pagan group is severely lacking. So hit us up. I know 2 people have sent me messages already. Earl just messaged me and says, I love you, Jax West. I'm going to steal you away from your boyfriend with my charm and my love. Can you even see that? I don't think you can see it. See? Yeah. So where is freaking camera on this thing? So, well, here, screenshot. Here. And I haven't even answered him right now. Get off there. This, okay. Let me see on my phone. Can I get into gossip? And can I get into this video? Well, I'm not going to post it on the video. I'll just post it. I'll just make a separate post right now with this screenshot. So I'm going to guess somebody's in here watching the video and has told Earl I'm on, and that's why all of a sudden Earl is going to message me again. So for this one, well, you can look at it now that I just put it up there. I'm not gonna respond to it. And also, you know, my boyfriend's about to walk in. Oh my God, it's so stupid. All right, I'm really gonna go. Sorry I didn't answer. Sorry I didn't answer or get to everybody's things because I blab on too much, but I've been here almost 2 hours. So ending it now. Have a good evening, everybody, and play nice in this group. I don't care what you do anywhere else, but in here, be nice to one another.